Welcome to Parenting How Not to Suck. Good news is, if you pressed on this link, you absolutely do not suck. You're just a parent out there that wants to get as many resources as you can to make this journey much more fun. It can be fun. Although there's challenges, it is the most important job in the world, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm also very glad that my guest is here today because this is a big topic, guys, and it's so important for everyone to get more educated and learn about it. So today I have with me Maarit Gronoos. Maarit is a psychologist, a psychotherapist. She specializes in youth and adults. She's a sex therapist and GRSD, meaning gender, sexual, and relationship diversity therapist in Finland, Europe. Having recently relocated to California, she now works with an LGBTQIA as a coach, focusing on a wide range of relationship themes. A key area of Maarit's expertise is helping parents support their LGBTQIA teens. She guides parents to feel more at ease in their role, empowering them to become their teens' strongest allies. With over a decade of professional experience, Maarit has worked in an adolescent psychiatry clinic and as a private practitioner. She has also trained healthcare and school staff, contributing to improved support systems for LGBTQIA plus individuals. With 12 years of academic studies and a deep commitment to her field, Maarit brings profound insight and compassionate care to her work. I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
This is such a huge topic in North
Mm,
America, and it
mm,
really needs more conversation. It
mm,
needs more understanding. There's just so much that needs to be talked about. It's hard to even know where to begin. So I guess
mm,
where I want to begin is with all of your background. Why did you
mm.
choose to move into the coaching space?
Yeah, that's an interesting story because I actually really love working with queer teens as a therapist, but it's always the parent who can make the biggest difference in a queer teen's
Yes.
life.
Mm,
So that's how it is. I really
yeah.
love having that kind of loving connection with the teens, but it's the parents that make the biggest difference in the kid's life or the teen's life. And
Yeah.
I've seen so many parents who want to support their child or teen, but they feel like this kind of insecurity and confusion around LGBTQIA plus themes. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where I want to help. So I'm the person who parents can turn to ask all those questions that they're wondering about and not to ask them from their kid, who definitely has enough things going on themselves.
That's true. That's true. Because I think for a lot of parents, it's you don't want to do something wrong. You just want to love them through this,
Yeah.
but you don't know how to
Mm,
help. And so
yeah.
you try
Mm,
something and you don't know, and maybe you upset
mm,
them, and it's a lot of
mm,
feelings. And especially
mm,
if the parents don't have any
mm.
experience or they don't have
Yeah.
knowledge or understanding of what's
Yeah.
happening in the community, right?
Mm,
So again, one of the reasons
mm.
we're having our talk.
Yeah.
So, I think all of our teens
Mm,
are having challenges today. It's just
definitely.
a challenging world for all the
Yeah.
teens. But what are some of the biggest challenges facing
Mm.
LGBTQIA plus kids?
This is at this particular moment, we've just been through elections in the US.
Mm,
Trump is in power now. So this is a really easy but a really loaded question. So at this very particular moment in history in the US, the biggest challenge is definitely the political atmosphere and true
mm,
concerns about access to care. And I
yeah.
cannot emphasize enough that these concerns are very serious and they cannot be waved away. So these are very serious questions that the teens are
Hmm.
pondering about.
Yeah.
And I want to stress that queer teens need us adults. They need the parents to be there for them, to be active in making a change for the positive. Because
Yes.
they're not thinking about what happens tomorrow or next week. They're actually thinking about their entire life trajectories ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's important to think about. I don't want to get too much into
Mm,
politics because I'm
yes.
very
Mm,
passionate about it
mm,
and I don't want to upset
mm,
anybody. Let's face it, we're
mm.
all part of the same race. The human
Yeah.
race
Yeah.
is what it comes down to. We are all one
Mm,
and everyone
mm,
deserves all
mm,
to have all of the
mm.
same care and
Yeah, and we're talking about human rights here. So what the teens are they're not in a way they're not concerned about politics, but what they're actually in their deepest self, they're concerned about, is there a place for me in this world?
yeah,
Will people like recognize who I am? Will they use the name that I want people to use about me?
Yeah.
Will they use the pronouns? And will I get to express myself in an authentic way? Or will I get bullied? Or will I come in terms with like violence if I do that? Will I get a job?
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many questions. What can we do as a community,
Mm,
as a society? How can we support?
mm,
Like, what can we do to
mm,
help? I feel like part of it is I think we could
mm,
help them find each
mm,
other and find their tribe, to find
mm,
that support in each
mm,
other as well as their
mm,
parents. There's so much
mm.
power in collaborating and coming together.
Yes.
We're so much stronger.
Yeah, and that's especially true with LGBTQIA plus people, that actually because we're experiencing minority stress, all the oppression and everything that is actually happening at this moment, like discrimination. So we
Mm-hmm.
need to get together to create those support systems for ourselves and for each other. And that's really vital. So that creates this certain kind of like specific LGBTQIA plus like resilience. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I think parents should be all about, creating that resilience, creating those resources that can be found in the particular parent-child relationship, in the family, in the home, in the neighborhood, in the school, in the hobbies.
Yes.
So all
Yes.
of those like different sectors of life. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not about like you should be like in the front of like demonstrations. Like you can
No.
be there. That's probably really beneficial for your child in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the only way that you can make a difference. So one
That's
way
right.
to make a difference especially is to like support and defend your child when your child is not in that room, taking part in those discussions with relatives. Like if someone is saying something like super conservative, like maybe you can step up and say, hey, actually I have a different opinion, this is
Yeah.
my opinion, and this is actually, you're talking about my child, for example, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
supporting them, so please
Yes.
use this kind of language when you're around my child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The language piece is very important.
Mm,
The pronouns are very
mm,
important. Can you, I'm
mm,
going off script here,
mm.
honey. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, that's all right.
that's
Yeah,
what the chit chat's supposed to be
yeah.
about. Is can you explain to
Mm,
listeners, because some
mm,
people are under the impression, oh, it doesn't
mm,
matter what pronouns are
mm,
used, but that's
mm,
really important to these kids. And talk to us a little bit about
mm,
that. Just I want to help
mm,
listeners understand why it's so
mm.
important.
It's usually like the very common theme here in the English speaking world,
Mm,
because you have different kind of pronouns. So it
that's right.
actually makes a difference. It's always telling if this is a girl, if this is a boy, if someone's non-binary or something else. So it's like really respecting the other person's self-identification. And
Mm-hmm.
actually we're doing that all the time with other people.
Yeah.
So I assume it's the most simple principle to just continue doing the same when someone tells you that, actually, I'm a he. So please use that. Okay, sorry, I didn't know that. I know that now. And then just
Yeah.
correct yourself. Don't make it a big deal, because usually the people who ask for certain pronouns, they wouldn't want it to be a big deal.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just want to
Absolutely.
hear the right pronouns like everyone else and just keep going on with the actual conversation that usually is about some other topic.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Because it's closely connected to their
Mm,
identity and who they
yeah,
are.
yeah,
And we want them to be proud of who they are, and they shouldn't have
yeah,
to quiet down or change themselves
yeah.
to walk out into the world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So it's a very simple way to validate other
mhm.
people's experiences of themselves.
Yeah, for sure. I think these kids are so brave to
Mm,
be, they're trailblazing for generations
mm.
that are going to come.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they decided to come
Mm,
early and
mm,
have a few extra
mm.
challenges, but I think
Yeah.
that speaks to, I think,
Mm,
whether or not they're
mm,
feeling, if there's teens listening
mm,
right now, whether or not you're feeling resilient right now,
mm.
know that you are. Know
Yeah,
that you are.
definitely. Like you exist in this particular moment of time, so you are
Yeah.
resilient. You are
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I believe, not to go down
Mm,
a spiritual rabbit
mm,
hole, but I do believe
mm,
we all chose to come here at
mm,
this time to do,
mm,
to live our lives at this
mm,
exact moment, right?
mm,
And so, yeah, that shows me that these teens are extra
mm,
special and brave
mm,
and
mm,
resilient. And I love that.
mm. And we see you. There are
That's
people
right.
who see you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, building community
Mm,
around these kids and their
mm.
parents, which we can do online, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
in the schools. I think the schools are
Mm,
getting much better at having
mm,
groups and things like
mm,
that, but I think we could use more.
mm.
Um,
Yeah, there's always the next step. And I
Yeah.
love like youth because they're always challenging us. This is not enough, like we want more. And
Yeah.
that's the job of being an adolescent. Like you do want more. You want to be more progressive. So that's how it should be.
Absolutely. Every generation up till now has been,
Yeah.
right? You look at the
Yeah.
60s, you look at the
Mm.
70s, obviously very different challenges.
Yeah, but challenge is all the same.
Yeah, all the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is, you're right. I love that. That's an
Mm.
adolescent's job, right?
Yeah.
Just challenge the norms. So, what about when we talk about coming out?
Mm.
And we had talked earlier about, you said
Mm.
it's an
Mm.
outdated term these
Yeah.
days because years
Mm.
ago, it has a
Mm.
negative
Mm.
connotation, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk
So
to
I
us
was,
about that.
yeah, so I was curious, like, how do you feel if someone says that, yeah, I have this coming out thing. I haven't yet came out. So
Hmm.
what are the feelings that you like feel when you hear that coming out?
Yeah. You're coming out of a what? A box, a
Yeah,
prison, a jail? That's
yeah,
negative. Negative.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So it's almost like there's some sort of obligation to tell other people if you are not cisgender or heterosexual. And I want to say, no, it's not an obligation. Like it's some kind of like, bad secret that you're supposed to be telling other people and
No.
get some sort of like relief that, okay, we understand that you're evil or bad or like faulty in some way, but we do accept
Yeah,
you because we are so worthy and we are so good people. And that's like really horrible narrative. And I want to
it
get rid
is.
of that. Let's explode it away.
Yeah.
So what I prefer is the phrase inviting in, like
Mm.
inviting someone into your world. So then it's about making that decision about whether you want to trust that particular person or not. And it
Yes.
also emphasizes the agency that the person themselves has, like the power over their own identity, gender, and sexuality. So it
Hmm.
is my responsibility and my right to decide who I trust and whom I trust to honor and respect this kind of personal sharing.
Yes. And that's what it is. It's personal sharing. As heterosexual people don't,
Mm,
when they meet someone, say, "Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm heterosexual." Or
yeah, yeah,
it's no part of any other conversation.
yeah,
So why does it have to be? It's people
yeah,
are expecting this. Like it doesn't make any
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
And I really love that term inviting because
Mm,
it's important for all relationships, depending on how
mm,
close you are with that person as a
mm,
friend. Do you want to invite them into not
mm,
just your gender and sexuality, but what do you want to invite
mm.
that person to let them know what might be going on in the family home or
Yeah.
with a cousin and like
Mm,
any sort of personal information? You should have feel that connection with someone
mm,
enough first before,
yeah.
like you say, you
Mm,
invite them in because
yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like there's you can really like feel like how does the other person take it. It's
Mm,
an invitation, so it can also be like several invitations following. If that's okay, thank you for telling me that. I really appreciate that, and I thank you for trusting me. So there
hmm.
can be like more invitations coming on when time goes by. Or
Yes.
it can be like, okay, and I don't actually understand that, but I will try to respect what you just told me.
Hmm.
So it's okay. I did take the invitation, but I'm telling that I don't want to go any further.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's more like a safe way also, and not
Hmm.
just make some kind of big revelation. This is me, and this is my whole story, and this is the
Yeah.
story of my genitals. Like no one goes around like expecting like
Nobody does
cisgendered
that.
people to tell that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But understand the difficulty though. Do you know what I mean? Because there's that
Mm,
feeling these poor teens
mm,
are worried about being
mm.
judged,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is something that I usually want to challenge in my practice because there's this like hunger for acceptance.
Mm,
And that also can lead to so much like difficulties and trouble and even like really dangerous situations. Because if a teen can't find the acceptance from the one address where it should be, the home, the family, the
hmm.
parents, so they are going to go look for it somewhere else.
Yes.
And this is the message that I want to send out to the parents that, hey, be mindful about this. If you don't offer love, acceptance, validation, like trusting your teen and like being a cheerleader for them, they are going to find it somewhere else. And maybe
Yes.
it's not a safe place.
That's absolutely true. And I think that goes true for
Mm.
all adolescents
Yeah, definitely.
because The family
Mm,
is the family's
mm,
first. And I think,
mm.
and part of that also is I think they need to accept themselves
Yes, yes,
and see themselves in the beautiful eyes that their parents see
yes.
them. And if they're having parent issues, listen,
Mm,
then
mm,
we need to get our group of parents together that are willing to support them because there are those of us
mm,
out there that will do that. Every child I've ever taught has
mm,
been my own child.
mm,
Every
mm,
every international student I took into my house from
mm,
Belgium, Brazil,
mm.
they're my kid.
Yeah, I so feel
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah, there is support out there for sure.
Yes.
So some of the people I think in the more conservative side, let's say,
Mm,
you often hear them say, "Oh, it's just a phase. They're just
mm,
they're just experimenting
mm,
like they did in the 60s with
mm,
whatever."
mm.
And I don't think that's a fair statement, you
Yeah,
know?
it's not. Like there's this like philosophical stance that okay, in the end, like we don't know, like in the very strict sense of the word, we don't know what is going to happen.
Mm,
To know something, I feel like we would have to do some time traveling into the
yeah.
future and then come back to this moment that okay, now we can make the best choice. But yeah, that's
Hmm.
not possible. What we need to do is respect the self-identification like we usually do in life, like in so many aspects, with especially with adults. So that's curious. Like, why
Hmm.
wouldn't we respect in the same way, like adolescents defining themselves and expressing themselves?
Yes. And it's going to change,
Mm,
right? I'm not saying how they identify gender
mm,
sexually. I'm not saying that, but
mm,
just in adolescence that I've seen in my own two
mm,
kids, their
mm,
personalities do they morph into different
mm,
things. There because we have to remember that at this age
mm,
too, their brains are going
mm.
under huge reconstruction.
Yeah.
And that so there you got to ebb and you got to flow. And I'm not saying
Mm,
they're flowing out of it, but I don't mean to, do you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
the personality side, right? One day one kid walks out of the
Mm,
bedroom and then another day
mm,
another kid walks out of the bedroom. And that's
yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
hormonal changes that are just
Yeah.
happening in all adolescents. But it should be
Mm,
respected when they share themselves, their true
mm,
selves with you.
mm,
It's not just a phase,
mm. Yeah.
right?
And what I want to like also tell an example is that what I've seen happen in clinical practice is that if we respect the person's self-identification, then they have the most freedom and most flexibility to be themselves in any
Mm,
moment. So
that's
if we
right.
try to control what other persons are, that we are doing something harmful, like creating tension and really a charged atmosphere around gender and sexuality, and then we can in fact make the themes more tense and like more
Yeah.
strict, like they're not moving anywhere, and
Hmm.
it can become like a serious battle where the teen is like really trying to stick 100% to a certain identity, certain gender, certain sexual orientation, when in fact without the tension they would be more free and more flexible to be what feels good in that particular moment of time.
Yes, and to be their true selves. And
Definitely.
isn't that what we want for all of our kids? Is
Yeah.
to and for our
Mm,
relationship with our kids is to
mm,
get to know their true
mm,
selves. And
mm,
because that's when I know, I'm sure most parents listening,
mm.
how do you know you did a good job raising your kids? They want to spend time with you when
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
grown. So to
yeah.
have that relationship
Mm,
solid, and you can only do that by getting to know truly, madly,
yeah,
deeply who they are.
yeah, yeah. I feel that it's something that every parent is going through. Like you had this idea and dream of a child. This is my
Mm,
child. This is what they're going to be like. And at some point, like usually with small things, it's going to change that, okay, this was not the hobby for them. Like maybe it was my dream actually.
yeah.
And then working with the self that okay, I had a disappointment, it's about me, it's not about my child actually, they're
Hmm.
growing up to be themselves. So in the end the question is that the teens are going to choose for themselves who they are and what
Yes.
kind of like expression they have. They're going to be young adults, so it's mainly a question of do you want to be there for your kid or teen,
Yeah.
or do you want to be your child's first bully or supporter?
That's right.
So that's the
That's right.
question, like being a bully for your teen or the
Yeah.
supporter. And I feel
Uh,
like that's a really easy question.
absolutely.
Like,
Yeah. And when you focus on the whole of who they are, they're
Mm.
more than just their gender and
Yeah,
sexuality, right? They're more,
definitely.
you want to know that what are they creative? Like what creative
Yeah,
things do they like to do? You want to know what
yeah,
kind of sense of humor they have. What do they find
yeah,
funny? What kind of
yeah,
music do they like?
mm,
We as people are made up of so many more things,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
And all together it just makes this
Mm.
beautiful mix of people that are
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
And as the world would be pretty boring if we were
Mm.
all the same.
Yeah, definitely. And you made a really solid point there about it's about the whole personality and the whole human being.
Yes.
Because sometimes if we stick to like the gender theme or like sexual orientation theme, like it narrows down like who they are.
Hmm.
And it can become like even more tense. And then there's going to be lots of arguing and stuff like that. And then we lose focus. Okay, this is about the actual human being. And it's not about this like really strict question about what is the gender today and is it going to
Yeah.
be the same for their entire life. Like, that is not important actually.
No, it is actually not. It's how they are treated in relationship,
Yeah.
because then how they are treated in relationship teaches them
Mm.
how to treat
Mm.
others in relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's huge. We all want our
Mm.
children to have beautiful,
Mm.
loving, lifelong,
Mm.
magical relationships. They
Yeah.
learn that under our roof,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's where the parents get to make a big impact about like how difficult is their life or their children going to be.
Hmm.
Like, is it
Yeah.
something that they can trust that they have their parents' support? Or is it a place where they learn that, okay, I need to stick up for myself because no one else is going to? Everyone else
Yeah.
is discriminating. So I need
Yeah.
to get away from here and be by myself. So that's a lonely road and a very difficult one to take.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where the building community comes in as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And chosen families and everything.
Chosen families. I got lots of chosen
Yeah,
family.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
It doesn't always have to be blood for sure.
yeah,
For sure. So any kids that are listening, go get your chosen family.
yeah,
Fill out the
definitely.
adoption papers, adopt each other. I have a girlfriend
Yeah.
that we've called each other sisters for years.
Mm,
We're
mm,
not blood related, but
mm,
we might as well be.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And since that adolescence
Mm,
age, right?
mm,
14 years old.
mm,
I have more than one girlfriend.
yeah,
We're a crew of us now. But those relationships are so important and
mm,
pivotal, right?
yeah,
Pivotal.
yeah, definitely.
Because
And
everybody needs, go ahead.
yeah, so what kids and teens like they're actually missing is some sort of okay, like if the own relatives and family are not that accepting, what they're actually looking for is even like older adults. Okay, can I get a queer grandma or something?
Yeah.
Like where can I find or a queer grandpa? Like where can I find one? And
Yeah.
then there are communities that offer this kind of really safe relationship or having a godmother or godfather from the
Hmm.
LGBTQI plus community.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping people are taking what we're putting
Mm.
down and realizing, because I didn't want to talk all the negative, right? I
Yeah,
want to talk
yeah,
solutions. I want to talk help. I
yeah,
want to talk support, and
yeah,
community is
definitely.
big. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say there's a parent listening and
Mhm.
they just heard this big news from their
Mm,
teen. And on our pre-recording, you had mentioned that the coin phrase that
mm,
everybody says, "I'll love you
mm,
no matter what." And
mm.
it's said with the best of intentions.
Yes, definitely
It
with the very best of
very
intentions.
best of intentions, but
Mm,
how is it can it be sometimes
mm,
perceived?
yeah. So it's saying, I love you in spite of this horrible thing that
Yeah,
you just told me. And that is not the message that anyone wants to send out. That's
no,
how I feel.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. So what
So,
should they say? What are better
yeah.
things, better responses that
Mm,
are that make the teens feel seen and
yeah.
heard and loved?
Yeah. So I feel like the very first thing that any parent or even like any adult, even a teacher or anything should do is listen.
Mm,
So what we have is two ears. And sometimes we maybe, if we get like anxious, we might forget that. And then we start talking and asking all kinds of like really difficult questions. And
yeah.
we really don't need to do that in that moment.
Not at the beginning, no.
Yeah. So just being there and listening, like being very present and in a way like super like authentic, like having that connection in that particular moment of time because it is a very special moment.
Yes.
And then one of the things that people can say is, thank you for trusting me, or I respect what you have told me.
Yes.
And then there's this more difficult do say, or act in a way that somehow sends the message, I love you because you have this wonderful identity that you just shared with me.
That's
And
right.
I love you because you have this identity worthy of celebration. And I
Yes.
can understand that this can be a challenge for some listeners, but I want you to take up that challenge and think about ways. If you learn new things about your teen, if you learn that they got into a school that they applied for, like a really good school,
Yeah.
aren't you celebrating?
Of
Because
course.
it's a good future. And you
Mm-hmm.
can see that happening like in your when you close your eyes. So this is something that you could maybe do a rehearsal like in your mind, like some kind of like mindfulness experience that, okay, if I were to hear something that's maybe creating like difficult feelings for me, but is a positive thing for my child, like
Mm-hmm.
something new, like they were being curious with themselves and they learned something new about themselves. So how do I feel about that? And what is the joy that I can see in that identity?
Yes, absolutely. Because and really, it should be just because it's part of who they are.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's
yeah,
simple. It's part of who
yeah,
they are.
yeah,
It's just another part of who they are. Why not
yeah.
love it and celebrate it? I can understand to some parents, especially in the current
Mm,
climate, being
mm.
scared, right?
Of course, of course.
Of what
Mm,
could the possibilities.
mm.
But I think, like we said, let's turn the
Mm,
focus on how to
mm.
support, how to
Yes,
celebrate, how to build
definitely,
community.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's enough of us out here
Mm,
that are
mm.
supporting
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
think it can be a powerful
yeah,
thing. But we also
yeah.
have to have more of these conversations, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely.
Yeah,
Like we need to take up the space
that's
and
right.
fill the space with these kind of messages. Like
Yes,
about there is
absolutely.
a future worthy of living and celebrating.
Hmm. Absolutely. Of all the diversity that's on this planet, because there's so much,
Mm,
there's a reason
mm.
for that.
And I really love your message, like with the parents, like having this kind of like gratitude. Okay, I learned a new thing about my child.
Yeah,
Isn't that precious?
it
So actually,
is.
like having kind of moment with like really feeling that gratitude, like, okay, my kids told me that. It's a huge thing. Maybe I have done something right because they trust me.
That exactly.
Yeah,
Boom. Right. As a
yeah,
parent, you should look at that.
yeah,
Right. The
yeah.
child hides it from you for years. Well,
Mm,
you might want to think what kind of things have been happening there. Right.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, that's so important. I hope this
Mm,
conversation can be of support,
mm,
and I hope that
mm,
people reach out to you because you do your code. We'll get to that in a second because I
mm,
do have a few other questions that I ask all my
yeah.
guests, and they're just personal ones for people to get
Mm,
to know you. So,
mm.
you want to move into those. What is your definition of a fulfilled life?
Fulfilled life. Oh my God, that's so much.
I know.
I want to, like, I think first of all, I want to have meaning in my life. That's the most important thing for me, probably.
Yeah.
And where I feel meaning is like creating connection, having connection with my clients, having connection with my partner, my friends, my dog,
Yes.
having connection with the world. And then also, no surprise here, but I really value creating and strengthening those connections with other people, like between other people, like with the
Yes.
teens and their parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. The parents are so
Mm.
pivotal.
Yeah.
So we all have challenging
Mm.
times.
Mm.
So what is something you tell yourself when you're going through those challenging times?
I feel like at this particular moment in history, this is a challenging time.
This is,
I lived in the US under 1 year, and then the political stuff that's going on, and also I don't know when this is going to air, but we just had. I'm living near Los Angeles, and there's all these
yes, the
fires going on,
fires. Hmm.
and I'm coming from Northern Europe, so I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
So this is a challenging time, and in a political way with the LGBTQI plus community, this is a challenging time. But what I usually uh, look for in a challenging time is my dog
Mm,
because animals have those skills to
they
be
do.
present in the moment and value the little
Yes,
things in life.
they do. Animals
And
are
that works
amazing.
like every single day, several times a day. And that's why I have
Awesome.
an animal like every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Animals, that's the gift they
Mm.
bring us, right?
Yeah,
No matter what's happening, they can bring you right back to the present moment. I had
yeah,
the opportunity to
definitely.
dog sit for a couple of
Mm,
weeks and it was amazing. It was
yeah,
funny.
that's
Actually,
wonderful.
there's an episode going to air this week
Mm,
or whatever. Anyway,
mm,
no dates because I don't know when this is
mm,
actually going to air. But I
mm,
literally was sitting here and
Mm.
throwing the ball with the
Yep.
dog
Yep.
as it was recording. I said to my guest, I said, "Did you see my arm moving? Did it look like
Yeah.
I was like?"
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the animals
Yeah.
are beautiful. I love that. I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
And animals are so wise. So this is like a different story, but when I was doing like therapy online, like back home when there was COVID happening,
Yeah.
so when there was a really like emotionally tense like conversation going on with me and my client, the dog actually came into my lap and sat
Wow.
there for like 15 minutes when the theme and emotions were like really tense.
Yeah.
And then the dog just left and went like doing her own things. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of tells me that, okay, like animals have so much knowledge in this world and
They do.
wisdom, and we really don't understand that enough.
Yes, they have this beautiful energy and they can sense energy. They can't speak
Yeah,
to us
yeah.
about it. And it's funny, this is a Parenting How Not to Suck podcast, but I
Mm,
actually will have a guest on that is a
mm.
professional dog trainer. And
Well,
we
that's
talk a lot
interesting.
about how animals and
Mm,
families, because she helps
mm,
families transition with a new
mm,
dog. Anyway, it was a great
mm.
conversation because
Yeah, yeah,
so many families have animals and
yeah,
it's a big commitment
yeah,
but
yeah.
there's a lot of beauty to it too.
Yeah, and
But
that's actually like one thing like about the chosen family. Like
yeah,
many people, like queer people, have chosen that okay, a pet is part of our family and a really
yes.
crucial part. And I really
Yes.
celebrate that.
Yes, I do too. I love it.
Mm.
Okay, so what is the most important thing you want people to take away from our conversation today?
Probably the listening part.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of uncertainties, there are lots of questions, there are lots of worries, and we can't erase them, we can't delete them. They are there.
Mm,
They're
yes.
actually the message that, hey, I love my child so much. I want them to have the best future possible. And that is the reason I am worried. But it's you're the adult, you're the parents, like those are your worries. Like you shouldn't burden your child with those questions and those concerns and worries
That's
because
right.
they have their own. So seek out
Exactly.
support, seek other parents, seek coaches, seek other professionals that can help you because you need self-care. Like you're going
Yes.
through your own identity process as a parent because
Mm-hmm.
you thought that maybe you're the parent of a cisgendered heterosexual child, but then you learn that you're actually not.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
like you are worthy of getting that support.
Absolutely, because it's only going to support your child as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And the listening is so important because a lot of times this goes for all teens on the planet. Sometimes they just want to vent
Mm.
or sometimes they
Mm,
just want to share. They don't
yeah,
need us to solve all their problems like they did
yeah,
when they were 5. Like we
yeah.
have to get out of that mode. Listen, I
Mm,
have had teenagers made that
mm,
mistake. Still trying to
mm.
problem solve, still trying to
Yeah,
what can I do? Like how can I help? They don't need us for all of that. It's actually
yeah,
better if you don't do that because
yeah.
they're needing also to feel that
Mm.
autonomy of
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have some control here in my life and the
Yeah,
decisions
yeah,
that I'm making, right?
yeah, because they're going to be like wonderful young adults and they want to be independent. So it's better
Yes.
to be available, but not
Yes.
pushy.
Not pushy. You know what a girlfriend of mine said it was
Mm,
used to be like when she had teens
mm,
before me? She said, Natalie,
mm,
teenagers, she said it's like double dutch. She said they're in the double
mm.
dutch and you're standing outside the double dutch and you're like, do you need me now? Nope. Do you need me
Yeah,
now? Nope.
yeah, that's a good metaphor.
Yeah, it's a balance and
Mm,
we do the best we can and I certainly wasn't perfect. It's not there's that's
yeah,
one of the
it's
reasons that chat is called
mm,
How Not to Suck because I know
mm,
all of us parents at times feel like
mm,
we sucked. I did
mm,
at times. And but there's no such thing as
mm.
perfect. Like we're just doing the best
Yeah.
we can.
And that's actually a really good message for the adolescents because they're thinking, usually, especially in psychotherapy work, what I witnessed was that they don't know how to be an adult if the adult is perfect.
Yeah.
But if the adult makes mistakes and learns how to deal with them, says that, okay, I'm sorry, I made a mess like here, or yeah,
Yeah.
I made an error here. So then it's a possibility for the teen that, okay, I can actually grow up to be an adult because I don't need to be perfect. I'm good
That's right.
enough, and good enough is the message.
Yes. Yes. And worthy. Good
Yeah,
enough and
definitely,
worthy and loved and seen. And that's what I want
definitely.
for all those kids to hear for
Yeah.
sure. I love it. Okay. Oh, I'm so excited. So, finally, where can people
Hmm.
find you, my darling? We will have all the links
Yeah,
in the description,
yeah,
but you can just tell people where you mostly
yeah.
hang out.
So at the moment, I mostly hang out in Instagram. I don't know if whether it will change because everything's happening at the moment.
I know,
But you
right?
can find me on Instagram at coach_Maarit_G.
Awesome.
And then you can also just directly send me an email. That's contact@coachmaaritg.com.
Awesome. 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 So if anybody needs to reach out, please reach out. I hope we can
Mm.
have a chat again. I think this is
Yeah.
a topic that is very
Mm,
important, and I don't have as many
mm,
guests from the
mm,
community, and I would
mm.
like more, and I want to have more conversations.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Let's do that.
yeah, awesome. I love it. Okay, everybody, thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you.
So glad you're still here. You do not suck as a parent. But I want you to know about something that we've created. The coaches and the experts that you see in this show, we've gotten together and we've created a community. It's called the Powerful Parenting Collective, where you as a parent can enter our group and have access to many of the experts that you see on the show, to private message them, to have a quick little video chat before you decide to hire them to help you in your parenting journey. Or maybe you decide not to do that. I want you to think about a community that is supportive, that will have events for you, free workshops, free information, and a place where you can really connect with the different experts that you've seen on this show. So click the link below and join us. Basically, think of it like a shopping mall for parents. We hope to see you there.